This part is dedicated to the great musician, the cooperation with whom also influenced your career and influenced the whole Mambo era, especially when Hustle tried to get over. It's Mr. Tito Puente, of course. You mentioned him as a mentor in many interviews, as the source of your inspiration in music. How you managed to, find this agreement with him to start working with him?
Olga, let me say this. First of all, I believe Tito Puente has done more for the actual promoting the Latin music around the world. He's been an ambassador for Latin music, and he's traveled around there's probably no place on this earth that Tito Puente has not taken his music. And I think until today, I don't believe we've given him enough recognition and credit that he deserves for doing what he's done to help this music become popular around the world. And as far as Tito Puente and I've had the privilege and the good fortune with Maria and I, we performed with him for 21 years. And the story with Tito Puente, I would have to say this, it was all part of our destiny. Why? Because Tito Puente and myself were born here in New York in the same hospital.
Wow.
Here in Harlem, there's a hospital called Harlem Hospital. So Tito Puente and Eddie Torres were born in Harlem Hospital. Tito Puente and Eddie Torres were raised in the same neighborhood in Spanish Harlem. And then after so many years, when I was old enough to start going to the nightclubs, I would see Tito Puente, especially at the Corso, almost every Sunday when he wasn't traveling, he would play there. And I remember since I was very, very young, and now I understand why, even when I was a teenager, I loved Tito Puente's music. There was something about his music that was so good for dancing and so good for choreographing and working, with his music was something very special. And I found out that my mother, she used to play Tito Puente music in my house. And she actually played Tito Puente music in the house when she was pregnant for me, when I was in her belly. And there was something about Puente's music that used to do something to my soul that would make me want to dance and become very creative to choreograph his music. And I met him I would have to say about 1970 or 71 at the Corso. And I remember after he played, I always tried dancing in front of him just to be close to him. And I remember always saying hello to him and also telling him how much I loved his music. I would always compliment him and say, Tito, I love your music. And then one day, while he was playing, after he was going to take a break, and I went to say hello to him, he said, come here, I got to ask you a question. And I said, yeah. He says, have you ever considered doing your dance at a professional level and take it out of the clubs and do it more like a profession on stage? What Tito didn't know, and this has to go back to the story of June Laberta, because when I told June Laberta about my dream to one day work with Tito, she told me she was going to take me to a place where Tito Puente was playing, and there was a very, very famous dance team by the name of Augie and Margot Rodriguez. And they were performing, and they said, Eddie, once you see this team, they're going to inspire you even more to keep working on your dream to dance with Tito. So to make a long story short, she took me to a place called the Roseland Ballroom. I sat there and I watched Tito play, and the team, Augie and Margot, performed 2 numbers with Tito Puente. And when I saw them performing on stage, I went home and I said, my God, this is what I want to do. I want to one day, like Augie and Margot, I want to be able to perform with Tito Puente. So then I'm going to now take you forward to when I had that conversation at the Corso with him. And he told me, he says, Eddie, if you want to become a professional dancer, he says, you need a partner and you need to choreograph some kind of routine to put an act together. And he says, and if you do that, maybe one day you'll have a chance to perform with me. So now, Olga, so don't make this such a long story. About 7 or 8 years passed by. I go to a place where I was teaching here in the Bronx, and I'm teaching salsa, and I met Maria there where she was teaching gymnastics,
Yeah.
And then after I got to know Maria, I shared my dream with her, and I asked her would she let me, because she was such a talented a dancer. She picked up everything quick, and I said, Maria, I would love to train you with the hopes of one day performing with the Tito Puente Orchestra. So she allowed me to train her, and I don't know how many months it took. After she was ready, I went with her one night to a club where Tito was performing. I introduced her to Tito Puente, and I told him, I said, Tito, this is my dance partner. Do you think you could give me an opportunity to perform with you? So what he did was he introduced me to his musical director of the band, and he told me, explain to him exactly how you want your music, and in my next concert, I'm going to feature you and Maria performing with me. And so we debuted with Tito in a place here in New York, which was known back in the 70s as the New York Coliseum, which is now called Jazz at Lincoln Center. And so there we performed 2 numbers with Tito, and I'm kind of rushing you through the story because of time. But,
no, it's okay.
But Olga, after that,
I can spend all the night.
Olga, after that one experience with Tito, everywhere we saw him, he allowed us to perform those 2 numbers until one day he tells me, give me your telephone number. I have a special show that I want to invite you and Maria to perform with me. And so little by little, from club dancing and club performances, he started to take us into places like the Madison Square Garden. He took us to Lincoln Center. I performed with Tito Puente for President Bush. Little by little, it started becoming even more and more prestigious working with him. And by the grace of God, Maria and I were able to share our life with him on stage for 21 years. And I have such great memories of working with Tito Puente, and I miss him dearly.
Yes. I want to quickly just correct just a little thing. I met Eddie December 1978. We started dancing with Tito Puente January 79. So it wasn't months that he taught me choreography. What actually took me months to learn was social dancing. I was always a performer since I was 4. I did tap and jitterbug since I was 4 years old. 1964, I started dancing. Don't do the math. And then when I met Eddie, anything he threw at me, I picked it up real quick. So he saw that for choreography, I was ready. But for social dancing, I would say that took me 6 months because I had to understand his world. If you see us in the studio, he would freestyle, and I had to just feel and understand where he was going, what he was doing. So choreography didn't take me much to learn. Even to today, there's time he choreographs a routine in 5 minutes, and we're on stage the next. Because he's done that to me. And there's times he choreographs a routine for me, but on stage he changes it. I see his eyes and he goes like this, and I say, oh Lord, he's taking me somewhere else. Because that's the artist and the genius of who he is. But it's for me, it's also a compliment of who I am to understand his world. But like I said, choreography didn't take me much. The social dancing did take me about 6 months to really understand his world and become portray the women styling, the women attitude, the women feminist, not be all hard, but shows the femininity of his world, of his style.
Olga, let me say this. I would really not do justice to my career without mentioning that, as you know, and the world knows, I've also had the pleasure of working with these tremendously amazing, talented ladies, such as Melissa Rosado, Grisel Ponce, Shani Talmor, Maria Chiara Barrone, Vanessa Lacedonia. I mean, I can go on. And of course, sharing the stage with my family, with my wife, and also we have a daughter, which I'm sure the world knows. She started dancing at 3 years old, and she has performed also, and Tito Puente loved her like a granddaughter. And her name is Maria Torres, and I've had the privilege and pleasure of sharing the stage not only with the mommy, with Maria, but with Nadia. We have performed, and for me, I like when people ask me, Eddie, how do you feel about your career? I said, listen, I think I've been able to do more and accomplish more, and feel so blessed with just the fact that I've shared it with my family, who I love, and with all these great talents, which I've had the privilege of sharing the stage with. So I don't believe that my life has been something that was just by luck. I believe this was already a destiny for me. Oh, Bessie Cortez. That's
Yeah,
another
we prepared this short
phenomenal.
slideshow with
Oh,
the
yeah.
partners you have.
Oh my goodness, there's so many, so many.
Also, his son Eddie Jr.
And of
And
course,
also it
yeah.
will be here. But
Yes. Anyway, so that's just a little bit, because
Yeah.
my goodness, I know that there's never enough time to share all the stories. Nancy Ortiz, another phenomenal dancer, and so I've been Sara Milan. Oh my goodness, as I think about it, sometimes it's almost like a dream. I say, my God, I've shared my passion with Tito Puente, with my wife, with my family, with all these beautiful dancers. And what more can I ask for? I mean, I'm a very blessed man in being able to do that. And still, you know, it's funny because just this week, somebody was asking on Facebook if I was still alive. And I said, you know what?
God.
I could understand why people might be asking that, because I've been doing this now for over 55 years.
57.
And I'm already, today I'm already 70 years old. And I've been dancing since I'm 13, so they could probably think Eddie's had a long life already, a long career. So they were wondering if I was still around. And so I wake up every day and I check my pulse and I say, you know what? I think I'm still alive. So I thank God, and I don't take nothing for granted that I've been a blessed man as an artist for so many years, and I'm still here.
Yes. And I'm 60 years old, by the way. And I started dancing in 1964.
But look how beautiful she looks.
Yeah. Maria, we have a question for you. We have a question for you from Patrick.
Yes.
Patrick is asking, Maria, you learned choreos easily but had problems with social dancing. Is it that supposed to be the opposite?
Not in my case, because I started performing on stage at 4 years old. Long story, I grew up with a family of work professional musicians. My brother Ricardo Marrero, Tito Marrero, they had Dave Valentin, Angela Bofio, Rafael de Jesus. We had top musicians in my family. So in my family, they were always music. My mother grew me up where every time we clean the house, we put music on, and I was already a performer. So the stage, I always loved the stage because I guess I love attention. I'm a little shy. But I started performing on stage at 4 years old. So that was for me a knack. But to allow my true feelings to come out socially, first of all, Eddie's been dancing 15 years before I met him. So he was trying to develop this dance 15 years before me. I was dancing 15 years of tap and jitterbug before I met Eddie. So when our worlds connected together, and I was also doing gymnastics, I did tap, jitterbug, and gymnastics. When he saw everything that I brought in, we just brought the world together. But in terms of choreography, the teacher that I met, Miss Scott, she told me choreography, follow me or whatever it is. So I had that knack of visually capturing movements. I didn't understand timing, and I didn't understand how to just express myself. For me, it was easier to perform on stage than do social dancing, because I had to learn how to express myself as a woman, but also understand his world that he's been developing for 15 years.
Olga, let me add to this. I believe the question was from Patrick that how is it that she was able to do choreography and struggle with social dance?
Yeah.
When I met Maria, she didn't have any interest of social dancing because I used to go to the clubs all the time. So my way of getting her interested to learn how to do social dancing, I would take her with me to the Corso, and Maria would sit down and watch me dance with all the ladies. All the ladies, I would dance with her. And I did this on purpose to see if I can make her jealous enough to say one day, hey, I want to learn how to do the social dancing, because she got tired of sitting down watching me dance with all the ladies at the club. So when I started to teach her social dancing, of course, Maria was a quick study, a quick learner. So that's why you see those videos at June Laberta's studio. I was rehearsing with her and teaching her how to social dance. And of course, once she learned how to social dance, then she would go with me to the clubs and she would dance with me 9 out of 10 numbers. And the ladies were like saying, I liked her better when she didn't know how to social dance, because Eddie would come and dance with all of us. But after that, I would dance most of the night with Maria or with June Laberta.
Yes, but I was 18 when I met Eddie, so I was still too young to go to a nightclub. So since I loved dancing, since I was too young to go in a nightclub, I would pull into performing. So I've been dancing since I was 4. But when he introduced me to the social world, that was another world that I had to understand and feel what it is that was in me as a woman to express myself, you know? So that's why I guess it took me longer.
Also, Maria knew how to dance the hustle before she actually learned how to dance social mambo dancing. And when I shared my dream with her one day, I said, Maria, would you be interested in letting me train you so that we can maybe one day perform with Tito Puente, with the Tito Puente Orchestra? She said, who's Tito Puente? She didn't even know who Tito Puente was. So she was not really exposed to the Latin dance scene the way I was. But like I said, once Maria took interest, after she learned how to do choreography, and then she let me teach her how to do social dancing, then she has become the amazing dancer that she is today, you know. But it was all in like I said, in a destiny for this to happen at the right time, because again, social dancing was something I did for so many years. And as a matter of fact, once Maria learned how to dance socially, we would open and close the nightclubs like the Corso. And then after that, I would take her to eat something. And then we would go to what they call the after hours. The after hours were clubs that would open up at, let's say, 5 o'clock in the morning. And you'd go in there and dance till like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And so we became real fanatics of social dancing. And I tell people, for me, the most fun dancing that I've ever done, of course, I love the stage like Maria, but I really love social dancing because that's when you can get to be so natural and so real about who you are in your dance.
And you have amazing and very talented children. So your daughter and your son are very sophisticated dancers, and you also performed them. You performed with your son, you performed with your daughter, you performed together with Maria and with your daughter. So what was your reaction that they also decided to be artists, dancers, and what was your advice to them, because they were following your footsteps, and this is not easy, artistic career.
Just so you know, Maria and I never made the mistake of trying to push or force any of the children into the world of dancing. We would let them grow up and we would expose them to everything, because I believe all of us come to this world with a mission and a purpose to do something in this life. So we would expose them to dancing, and we would expose them to music and all these different things. And we were letting them find out who they were and what they wanted to do for the rest of their life as a career. And so happens that Nadia, when she was a little girl, she used to always be with Maria and I at the studio while we were teaching. So Nadia was already visually looking and learning about the dance just from watching, okay? And then we discovered when she was about 3 or 4, that she had also a musical talent. She understand how to pick up beats. She would know how to play the clave correctly to music. So we were like really amazed at how she naturally took to the dance. And as you can see her there, she was only 4 years old when she did her debut in Puerto Rico with the Gran Combo, and she's been dancing ever since. And also we feel good because we never tried forcing her. Also, my son, who dances also, and he's today's generation, and he's probably one of the dancers that has become a big influence for today's generation. He also he had a natural talent. He studied music at the Celia Cruz Music School. He studied the piano, and he knows how to dance flamenco. And there's a whole story behind him. But again, for me as a parent, sharing the stage with my children has been a great honor and a great blessing for me as an artist.
I also want to mention to you guys that we have 3 kids. We have Nadia, we have Margarita, who likes to be an actress, a singer, and she has that character. She's like a female Eddie Torres. We have a son, Emmanuel Torres, that doesn't dance, but he's a mathematician. He won many top competitions of mathematics, and he's a champion of New York State.
Wow.
So Nadia dances, Margarita wants to be an actress, singer, and our son is a mathematician. So, like he said, our 3 kids, when we raise them to be who they want to be. Of course, Eddie has danced with his daughter, Margarita. He's done a couple of hip-hop dances with her. He has another daughter, Melanie Torres, that also dances. Of course, his son, Eddie Jr., dances. So with our kids, we decided, okay, we will watch them. One will like write numbers on the wall. The other one would sing, and now they was always dancing. So we realized as young that they have three, same mother and father, but three different personalities. So we allow them to be who they are, and we're blessed to understand that because when I grew up, my father and mother didn't want me to dance, and I'm sure his mother didn't support it in our dancing. But we have to struggle and let them know, no, this is our career, this is what we wanted. And later on in life, then they became our number one fans. So we didn't want to do the same mistake to our kids. We wanted them to be who they are and not us force them to what we want them to be.
You trained so many dancers who became the legends, the also very famous dancers. What is the core and main principles of your teaching philosophy, and what is your advice to the dancers how to choose the teacher of their life? What to pay attention, what qualities of the teachers to pay attention?
Olga, let me say this to you. I cannot end this interview without me speaking of the lady who's responsible for everything that I know and everything that every teacher around the world is using in their technique and in their whole structure for teaching and performing. Okay, like I said earlier, we spoke about June Laberta, but June Laberta is the person responsible. And I like to give credit to where credit is due. And so for me, I cannot leave you without speaking a little bit about her, okay?
Of course.
So June Laberta was a ballroom teacher, Italian descent. She never married, never had children. She spent her whole life dedicated to dance. And when I met June Laberta, because I tell you, I don't believe anything that has happened in my career has been a coincidence. When I met her and I started to share my dreams of working with Tito and traveling the world, she told me, she says, Eddie, I would like to invite you to come teach at my studio, but if you're going to teach at my studio, I have to teach you how to use music theory, music timing in your teaching so you can help make people understand your style and your technique through this knowledge. And at first I resisted it because, remember, I was naturally a born dancer, what we call a street dancer. So when she started to tell me I had to count beats and put names to steps and use all these different structures, I said, June, I can't do that. I says, I can't see myself counting beats and naming steps. And then she told me, she says, Eddie, you want to work with Tito Puente, right? I said, yes, I do. She goes, well, Tito Puente is an educated musician. And if you're going to work with him, he's going to speak to you in musical terminology. If you don't know anything about music, I doubt if he's going to give you the opportunity to get on stage and work with him if you don't understand how to work with music. So when she told me that, then I said, oh my God. I said, all right. So then I allowed her to teach me every week before I would teach the class at her studio. She would sit me down like a person going to school, and I would have my notebook and my pencil, and I would take all these notes down, and she would start explaining to me everything about music. Music, this is a measure, this is 4/4 timing, this is men's timing, this is ladies' timing, this is the 3/2 clave, blah, blah, blah. And then she says, now you have to form a list of steps with names. And that was a challenge for me because I said, June, I don't know how to name my steps. And then she told me, well, I'm going to give you the first name for your list. The step that you always do at the corso, where you go cross with the right foot, cross with the left foot 3 times. In the ballroom world, we call that the Susie Q. So put that down on paper, and there you have the name of the first shine. Now, when you do all your steps, look at the pattern and try to imagine a name for that pattern, give it a name. So I would go home and I would start going over some of the steps that I would do, and then I started realizing, I started writing, oh, I'm crossing twice to the front with my right foot, then with my left foot. I'm going to call that the crossover Susie Q, front double cross. And then I would cross 3 times and then do a Susie Q at the end. I say, oh, I'm going to call that the crossover Susie Q, and so on and so forth. Till today, I have a book here that Maria helped me put together of what we call a syllabus, which I didn't even know what that word meant. But these are names of steps that I've been composing for years. And this is what June Laberta was trying to teach me. So she gave me what we could call the infrastructure for teaching with technique, with timing, with musical knowledge of how to explain the movements in a theoretical way. And she told me, she says, Eddie, at first this might be difficult for you, but once you learn this, I guarantee you it's going to help you as a teacher, as a choreographer, and with this infrastructure, you are going to help revolutionize the entire Latin dance community with this knowledge. At first, I didn't believe her. But now I think about it and I said, I only wish she was alive today, Olga, to see what has happened around the world with this infrastructure that she taught me, that all the teachers, that's why I tell the teachers, if you want to give somebody credit for this, for that today you are able to dance in a professional level, you're teaching your classes at a professional level, remember the name June Laberta. And although nobody has ever met her from around the world, but this is the lady that is responsible and deserves the credit. Because a lot of times people say, oh, Eddie, you invented the two. And I said, no, I didn't invent anything. I learned this from June Laberta, and I will always, always give her credit for what she helped me with, which again, I believe she was destined to be in my life for this reason.
So what is your advice to the students, to the people who want to learn dancing and who just at the beginning want to find the right teacher for themselves? What qualities you would suggest them to pay attention to?
It's all research, Olga, research. For example, like anything, if you want, if you have a problem, let's say with your bones, find yourself a good orthopedics. If you want to learn how to fly a plane, find a good pilot that knows what he's teaching. And everything that has to do with teaching, it's always good to find a very well qualified teacher that knows what he's talking about, that knows what he's saying. Because a teacher, as teachers, we could do a lot of good for students, but we could also do a lot of harm. So a good teacher with the proper knowledge, I always say, is most important. And today, you can see by the teachers who have developed all these great dances around the world, because we have so many teachers these days. So teachers have reputations, and if you're not sure, then ask people. Like people always ask me, Eddie, who do you recommend? And I said, well, in New York City, I could recommend so many people because I know they teach well, and they're going to do a good job as a teacher. So that's always my advice to newcomers: find yourself a good teacher that knows what he's teaching, that loves to teach, and that does not abuse. Because a lot of these teachers, I think they abuse their students. You know, you have to love what you're doing and do it with love, because a student will know. Just like when you go to school, there was teachers I had in school that I loved being in their class because they were all very friendly and they really wanted to help you. They had a good attitude about their teaching. So all that is really important for teaching. So that's my advice to the youngsters.
Yes. I also want to mention that along the many dances that we have had, Melissa Rosado has been with us since she was like 9.5 years old. So she's like our another daughter, and she has learned a lot with Eddie, has studied with Eddie, have rehearsed with Eddie. And she's one that Eddie would teach us how to approach a student. And let me tell you, I've been teaching beginners, almost 40 years or something. And there's time I go, honey, how do you approach one person, and I have a room of 50 people? How do I approach this one person that's having this problem with the timing or dead ear or something? And Eddie says, try this, try that. And I had tried to develop my own way of bringing in a student from beginner level. And many times Eddie says, oh my God, I need a drink. But for me to get them from my level one level into Eddie Torres's level, it's not easy, but it takes patience, it takes time, it takes dedication. And we have taught that and transmitted to many dancers and or students who we have taught before. But again, like he said, you got to research and find out who it is that you feel comfortable with, who doesn't say, oh, if you go here or you go there, you know, I don't want you back in my... And it's no, Eddie tells them, if you want to go dance with Franklin Martinez, Franklin Diaz, Brystol Ponce, Shani Chamor, the doors are open. And then the doors are open to come back home. Home is coming back home with us. So we open the doors to let them to go study whoever they feel comfortable with. And when people realize that, and then they come back and we still welcome them, we don't tell them, oh, where you been? No, that's a bad attitude. That's not the teacher to be with.